Hey everyone, welcome. Happy Monday. I hope you're having a great week. It's just started, depending where you are in the world. I hope you all had a great weekend. We have an exciting live stream for you today. Super excited. I'm super excited. It involves, I'll give you a clue, it involves open source, green squares, and awesome people. And let me give you a bit of a backstory. No, I'll let other people give the backstory because I can't remember very much about it, but let's do some introductions. So let me start. I have got a list, I've made notes. So we have Laurel with us, who's an inclusive tech leader and a software engineer. And Laurel has started an amazing app, and I'm going to let her explain a bit more about it and why. It's an amazing story. I can't wait to get all of you involved in this open source project. And then we'll move on to Michael. Michael is a ops in dev, get that right, engineer from GitLab. You know, I will talk about GitHub, so it's great to have a different perspective and point of view. And I've been really enjoying geeking out with Michael. And we also have Matthew as well, who's a software engineer, who's been working on this project too. So let's, enough for me. Let's head over to Laurel first. Laurel, please give yourself an intro. Tell us about your project.
I'm Laurel Eunice, and I am a software engineer going through the 100 Devs cohort right now. So the project came about because I have a kiddo on the spectrum, and when she was younger, she needed to use a digital communication board to communicate with our family. She was nonverbal, and so we needed to purchase a software. And at the time, it was extremely expensive for myself. I was a single mom of three, and it came down to either purchasing this expensive software and iPad to run it off of, or paying the power bill that month. And I obviously chose the communication with my daughter. And yeah, that was just a really big economic barrier. And so when we were in a class learning JavaScript, I saw the speech API and realized that I could build out this digital communication board software and put it out there for free so that nobody will ever have that economic barrier to access digital technology communication boards again. And so that's where the idea came from. We built the MVP now, and we're moving forward on working on iterations to build out the product bigger and better and more functionalities included in it. And yeah, it's just basically to eradicate economic barriers. There's barriers in other spheres too, like licensing for education has to pay licensing fees, and different professionals have to pay licensing fees. And we want to make communication accessible for all, and we want to get rid of those fees. So this product will do that, and that's our goal and that's our hope. And yeah, we want to open source it so that other engineers can get involved with this project and help us move towards that goal and provide a product that will help others communicate. So
I absolutely love that. I'm just going to jump in there, and I'm going to share my screen. We are going to get back to intros, but just to add a little bit to what Laura was saying. So let me just bring up this tweet that you did, Laurel, for people, just to give an example of what it is. So is this your product that I'm bringing up on my screen? This little video clip. This is your one, so people can get an idea of what it kind of looks like. And we're going to be adding this to the readmes and getting everyone's community's help with this and so on. So perfect. Just to give people a bit of a visual idea of what we're talking about here, because it took me a moment when you explained it on a Twitter space, which Michael will talk about in a moment. I couldn't visualize what it was. So yeah, perfect. Okay, let me stop sharing my screen. We are going to get back to my screen in GitHub in a moment. Michael, over to you.
Yeah, thanks. So I'm a senior developer evangelist at GitLab, and I'm super inspired by open source and everything around it. And like sometimes I'm replying to Eddie's tweets with my own ideas and my own helpful resources. And I don't care whether it's like GitHub, GitLab, or whatever platform I use. We should be using with what we are the most confident in, and like working together for a greater common good, I would say. And this kind of inspired us to host the Twitter space, like getting started in open source. And I thought of like it would be 1 hour or something, and I think the recording is two and a half hours actually. So there were really great and inspiring questions and stories. And when Eddie pinned the tweet from Laurel in the space, and I was like, oh, that looks amazing, and I totally want to learn more about it. I'm not a front-end developer, so it will be hard for me to contribute in that area. But I really want to see this open sourced. And I also want to hear Laurel speak about it, tell her story, maybe give a talk at a future event or something like that, but also inspire the community to like make it open source so that everyone can contribute. And yeah, like making new friends all over the world, which is I'm now repeating from the space. This is open source for me. Making friends all over the world, like the four of us now, and hopefully everyone who listens in. Yeah, and this is actually the story behind it, and I'm super happy to be here today, even though my GitHub is a little rusty sometimes, but I'm also eager to learn myself. So let's do this together. And handing over to Matthew.
Thank you. I want to interrupt again. I want to say you're absolutely right. We're all here to learn. You know, I'm happy to start the conversation and bring you all together, and we're all here to learn, including myself. So I can't wait to geek out with you. And we are going to be doing lots of GitHubby stuff, and it'd be interesting to see the difference in how, you know, maybe things would happen in GitLab as well. We could kind of slip those in a little bit, just so again we can learn more about some alternatives too. So super excited.
I just saw that Andrea was in the chat. We just want to give a shout out because we had a conversation on Hacker News, and I helped him bring up the Lee app, which is another open source project. I also did a review, and yeah, this is just another example of why open source is awesome.
That sounds great. I love hearing these stories. Matthew, over to you.
Hey everyone, I'm Matthew Mitchell. I am a software engineer, and I'm also going through the 100 devs cohort right now. I've been working with Laurel pretty early on. We've been just exchanging ideas, helping each other out, getting through, you know, our small trials and tribulations and all that stuff. And when I saw the project, I was super inspired because I've worked with behavior as a behavioral aid in the past, and I've seen this technology used, but as Laurel stated before, there's always paywalls to it. And I've actually worked with one of the children I worked with. They couldn't afford one, so they literally just had a laminated piece of paper with words on it, and he would just point to the words on it, you know. So getting something like this where you can take any device and make it into a communication board was super inspiring to me. And so I was asked to help, you know, work on some of the code, try to make it a little more dry. So that's where I came in, and I've just been loving the journey and having a great time helping out with this project.
That sounds awesome, and I can't wait to show everyone that there isn't much so far in terms of the GitHub-ness. There is the project there. We're going to hopefully hear a bit more about it. But if I show everyone why there's so many green squares, is because this organization was just created only a few days ago by Laurel and Matthew. And I did say to them, don't do too much on it. We want to do it on a live stream. We want to get the community involved. So I was looking at this about 30 minutes before the live stream, and then this pinned item came up, and I messaged Laurel, and Laurel, I think you just pinned something. It just popped up on my screen as I was looking at it. She goes, no, it's probably Matthew. Like, let's talk about it on the live stream. It was great to see that kind of, you know, asynchronous collaboration. And we're keen to, when we go into the project, we've got only 2 contributors at the moment. I'm really keen to get all of you in the audience in giving us your ideas, suggestions, and getting you on this contributors list as well. As you can see, as I mentioned before, the README could do with like a screenshot or a video or something like that. And you can get involved by raising issues on these, pull requests. We're going to go through all that. So don't worry, you're going to learn lots, and so are we as well. We're going to do the same. So did I miss anything, or shall we get started?
I'm ready.
Get started.
Everyone ready in the chat? Well, if everyone's ready here and in the chat, if you want to follow any of my amazing guests, their link to their Twitter is in the description below. You can check it out now or later, but do go check out what they're tweeting about and follow their awesome journey. Open source, 100 devs, GitLab, like so many things. Go check them out, and you can learn more about it. So we have a question. So we should give some shout outs, actually. Let me give some shout outs, and then we have some questions, and you'll understand why that's an important question. So hi, Praduma, you're the first one. I see you already raising issues. I think Michael, someone mentioned, which I think is epic. Praduma, you're always so supportive. Emma, great to have you here. Emma, I hope you're feeling better, by the way. I hope you're resting as well. I know you've got a lot on at the moment, but thanks for being here. Abhishek as well, awesome to have you here. Michael, Daily Tech, Sabrina, awesome to have you here as well. Can't wait to geek out with you. Andre as well, Yasin, so many people. Shasmita, awesome to have you all here. Can't wait to geek out. So let's get started. So Abhishek asks, can we get a brief about this project? I know Laurel has just done that, but I think that really highlights that we probably need something like here that gives an intro about what it is. I just realized it's covering Michael's face when I put that on the screen. Like that is, is StreamYard open source? We need to raise a bug. I don't like that. I'm sorry, Michael. I don't think I can do anything about that. If I can,
it's funny. It's know. Okay. Just follow me on Twitter instead. That's exactly.
If I could move myself to the bottom, then I will, but I don't think I can. No, unfortunately not. Okay, awesome. So people are keen to get some green squares. Okay, and get contributing. Okay, great to hear, Jordan. Great to hear Emma too as well, and Mikhail has just joined. Okay, great. So I think, we're looking at the organization. I mean, let us know in the chat what your first impressions are. My first impressions are we probably need to customize it. What do you all think, Laurel, Matthew, and Michael?
Definitely. So also maybe to answer the question about why is an organization and not just a project might make sense too, right?
Sure. Was there a question about that? Did I miss it? Sorry, I probably did.
No, but I think that it might give more of an overview of how to, I guess, make the piece. If we're doing different things on the organization profile, it would make more sense to kind of know why it's an organization versus just the project itself.
Sure,
maybe I'm jumping ahead, but maybe not.
No, please go ahead. That's great.
So in doing this project, we were talking about if we wanted to collaborate on further accessibility technology projects or other projects in the future. And Matthew and I both realized this is a really important sector and there's a lot of paywalls in this sector and it costs a lot of money for accessibility technologies. And there are other projects that we want to do. So we created this organization to put the projects that we will continue to build out in other spheres and other things that we're doing under the organization. So if you don't want to or aren't able to contribute to the Talk to Me technology project, there will be other ways that you can contribute as well in the future. So
I think it's great. I mean, I think organizations for these sorts of things make sense. You get better, kind of more customizable, adding members to different projects with different roles and responsibilities and so on. So let's get started. Okay, so I'm going to create a new repo, and this is going to be so we can customize. It's going to be a special repo, so we can customize this homepage. Hopefully, it sounds good to all of you.
Yeah, I was going to do this the other day, and I'm glad I didn't.
Yeah, I'm glad you didn't as well. Let's do it on the live. So
yeah, that's what I heard. I was like, oh, yeah, that makes sense.
So everyone looking, you'll see we've got a pinned repo, and we've got the same repo down here. If we look over to EdiHub, which you're all probably a member of, you can see we've customized this already at the top here. And this is done with a special repo that is called .github. So we'll do the same for Laurel's organization. I should say Laurel and Matthew's organization. So create a new repo, and I'm going to say it's called .github. There we go. And it even says this is a special repo. Let's do this. Again, the description, I think it's always important to have. I will leave this, and I can let others fill it in as well. And we should add a README. I'm not going to add a git ignore, and probably won't add a license for the moment as well, because there isn't going to be any code in this project. It's just going to probably be a README file. So let me hit create, and now we've got that. Okay, that doesn't look like a great title. Because if we go back to the organization, in theory it should appear. It might take a moment to appear for the first time though, if I remember correctly. Anyone let me know into the chat if it does take a few moments to appear. But while it's appearing, we should go in and change this. Someone else can change it in the audience as well. What should we include on this README? So now this repo is created. I'm going to share it in the chat as well. So now this repo is created. Raise some issues. What we should description. It's not so much about it should be the organizational level, I think. What do you think, Laurel, Matthew, and Michael? I think because this is the customization kind of the organization, we shouldn't put anything project specific in this because there are going to be multiple projects in the future.
I think like a description which says this is the home of all accessibility projects in the future, something like that. Like one sentence telling me the why this organization exists. I think you can customize it further with a project URL in the settings, but I'm not deeply familiar with it. Just so you know what it is about. And if there is like, you can add your social handles to say, hey, follow me on Twitter, follow me on LinkedIn or something like that, which is a great way to make people aware of it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then maybe if you want to promote a specific project, so thinking in the future, you might be having 20 of them, and you really want users getting started more easily, pinpoint the getting started in the organization description. So like start in this project. If you want to learn more about specific technologies, go over there and so on. This could also be done with pages set up on your own domain, of course. But potentially people will also find your organization on GitHub and can see it there as well.
Sounds good. So we've got a lot to do. Let's get started. And Praduma is always giving great feedback and has noticed that I've made a mistake already. That's fine. We're going to fix that. So thank you so much. And I see Emma has just raised an issue as well. So if I refresh this, we can see the issues climbing. And also Tom has also mentioned we should start hiding things that we're not using as well. So many great feedback. I love this. So I'm going to, conscious of times, I want to go quick through some of it. If I miss anything or want to go a bit slower, people ask questions in the chat. The other people on here can also give their thoughts and feedback to your comments and to what I'm doing. I will try and drive at hopefully a sensible speed. So I want to do what Tom suggests first, and let's hide the stuff we don't need. So this project probably won't have releases, won't have packages. So let's hide the stuff that we're not going to use. If we ever need it in the future, we can obviously add it back. So I'm just going to hide those and hit save. So they've now disappeared from the right-hand side. We've got wiki up here, project board. I'm probably going to hide those as well. Again, we're not going to use this for the customization of the organization. So we're going to hide the wiki. Documentation is really important, and we're going to get to that shortly. Issues we'll keep because we want people to raise issues. Laurel, have you set up sponsorship yet? I think you had, if I remember correctly.
I started it, and then I have to link the Stripe account with it. So, but we need the EIN from the IRS.
Okay, so I'll leave it off for now, but in the future you can enable that on, so a button appears as well. Project board, I think we'll turn that off for now. Again, we can always enable it, and same with discussions. I think it makes sense to leave it off. So if we go back to this project again, you can see the tabs now have reduced in numbers. So we want to show the features that we're going to use, but the ones we're not, let's hide them as well. Okay. Anything else I missed on that? Any suggestions from all of you? Are we looking good so far?
Looking good, I think.
Looking good.
Looks good to me, but I'm also new to the org stuff, so I'm learning with everybody.
We're all learning, so it's perfect.
Yeah, that's great.
Tom saying loves the Twitter handle by our names. Perfect. I'm not bringing up the comments for too long because they go over Michael's face, and I feel so bad about it. I don't know how I can move myself to the bottom and then go over my face. It's fine.
Yeah, just let's focus on getting things done, and then let's worry about my face.
Love that. Okay, so as Praduma pointed out, I need to put the README in the profile folder like I've done on the Eddie Hub, not in the root. So the root is for the README of the project. So absolutely good point. I completely forgot about that. I've done it once and never again. So what we can do is add this file. I'll add it as I'm showing my screen, I suppose. And then we're going to have different content in this README and then different content in the profile folder. So I think it was profile, is that correct? You see profile and then README.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, especially when you're getting started. You can look at other open source projects as an example. because I always forget the different paths, and it doesn't matter whether it's GitHub, GitLab, or something else. You can just look at a popular open source project and see how it's done there. You shouldn't be copying everything, but for this specific thing, just look it up. Maybe the documentation is not that clear, and just copy that. And once you have created the first project, you can always copy paste in a specific sense to future projects, or just use a project template or something similar.
Exactly. I think it's great for templates, for how people have set things up with maybe a CI, be it GitHub Actions or GitLab CI. I don't know what you call that, by the way. Is it just GitLab CI? I don't know if
GitLab CI CD. The thing is, like you said, specific things where you need to reinvent the wheel. Try to keep a project template or a central project where you store all the things, and then you can source from that. We will come to similar things like README and contributing in other documents. In previous times, it would have been copy-paste on the CLI. Nowadays, we can just clone something or copy it over, and everything can be done in the browser mostly, which is a great thing.
Yeah, so much can be done in the browser. I think that's epic. Okay, so we've got add mission statement created by Emma. So I can't write this, so I'm going to leave these issues here, and it's probably going to be for Laurel and Matthew to write something. Maybe they can write something now, like a one-liner to start it, and then it can be the first iteration and improve on it. So maybe that's a possibility too. If I go back to, let me create this file. Once we've got this file, we can collaborate it on it a bit more. Can you give us a one line, maybe, Laurel, I can write about the organization?
Yeah, I think that our mission is to eradicate economic barriers to accessible technologies for their users.
I'm smiling. There's a lot of big words that I can't
write. I always go in terms. Maybe Matthew has an idea of how to state it.
We're trying to remove paywalls.
I can spell paywalls.
Yeah.
Two words or one, I don't know. Paywalls.
It looks like it's one. We'll let the computer let us know either way.
Okay, mission to remove paywalls.
From accessibility technology.
From accessibility.
Yeah, that's great, because you can always iterate later on a better phrases.
Exactly. Big words. They are big words. Okay, on that note.
I need to get better at that.
Okay. Again, this can be absolutely be iterated on. So I've created that. Let's go back to this page, give it a refresh. Okay, so it's appeared. So we've got something appearing. And so now people can iterate on this, raise issues and so forth. Okay. Lots of great stuff. Completely agree, and a pull request has come in, but we'll send to the org name. Wow, people are fast. I love that. There's a lot of notifications for all of you to go through. So yeah, new issue raised.
One thing, so I'm missing permissions right now on the project. Okay, if you can fix that, I can merge pull requests and send in myself.
Let's do it. So what we're going to do is we're going to head over to Teams. And I see Laurel or Matthew have already created maintainers, and there's 4 members. So it's the 4 of us, which is great. But we need to add a repository to that team so they've got access. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a repository, which was called, I'll find it. Talk to me. There we go. Autocomplete. There we go. I want to add it to the team, so the team has access, but they've only got read access at the moment. So I want to put write access. There are other things that people can do if you want admin, maintainer, and so forth, but write should be enough, I think. I suppose you want to manage maybe issues and pull requests. You can still merge pull requests with write, but let's just put maintain for now, just especially for this live stream. And so now you should all be good. Michael, is that correct?
I think so. And I think we need to do the same for the .github repository as well.
That's a good point.
The thing is, if you want to get started with a group of friends or something, this is a great way to really handle it, create a team in the organization, and then assign the permissions for the specific teams. Could also be like something, one project is front end, one is back end, and you want to like split up the maintainership and the permissions and do something. But yeah, thanks for fixing my permissions. Now I can do something.
No, that sounds good. And Matthew's going to hate me. I'm going to remove the pinned repository just so we can get more of that. Oh, it comes up with popular. We should better hide that, I think. I don't know. I think that when you get like 10 repos, you might want to pin like 2. But when there's like only like 2, maybe we don't need to pin it. But I was trying to make more use of space, but I did a terrible job because now it's showing popular repositories. I wonder if in settings we can hide that. I'm not sure. We can look at that later on. That's not important for now. Someone can raise an issue on the .github repo and maybe say hide popular repositories. There must be a way to do it. Okay, what is next? Obviously, we've got some comments coming in. Tom, raise an issue on the repo. Great suggestion. Another thing we can do. So we've got this README for people to customize. Lots more stuff coming in there. I think it's going to be great. Socials as well. So maybe for now, you might want to put Laurel's socials. So therefore, she's posting about the project. Another thing you can do when we go into the actual repo, which is where we're going to spend a bit of time on, is you can go to the Insights tab, and then we can go to the community standards, and we can have a look at what's missing. So if people want green squares to raise issues and raise pull requests, we need a code of conduct. We need a contributing file. Again, these can be like one line, contributing file. It could be any questions, start a discussion, or any questions, ask in Discord. So you might want to ask that question in an issue and see what the maintainers come back with. And then, you can raise that file with 1 or 2 lines, and then people can iterate on that file, license and issue template. But before we get into that, 9 stars already. Looking good. Before we get into that, I'm just going to hide some of these things again to make it easier for people. We will hopefully get to releases. I'm really a big fan of releases. Michael, did you say you weren't? I can't remember. Maybe I've just made that up in my head. Or did you come up with an alternative way of doing it? For some reason, I remember us having a discussion on releases, I think. Or maybe it was the automation of the release.
Yeah, it was CI/CD and automation things. But we can just enable it at a later point. Okay.
So now we're on this repo. Are you all happy with the status of the org for the moment, and we get onto the repo? What do you think?
Yeah, I will create a pull request right now for adding the Twitter handles to the org description. But we can move on to the project.
Do that, and we can review that on the live stream, show people how to do that, and then I'll raise another pull request again to show people how to contribute as well. So I think that'd be good. I created this change directly to the file, which is really bad, people. You shouldn't do that. But for the sake of time, I'll show you something more interesting. For the sake of time, that's such famous last words. Do what I say, not what I do. I think it's the other expression. So let's go back to this repo. I've hidden some things on the side. Maybe give a refresh, see if any more issues have come up. No more issues. Let's try and get some more issues. So we need a screenshot to the README and other issues someone can raise. Someone can raise creating a release. Was someone going to say something, by the way? Sorry, I was on a different screen, so I couldn't see if someone was going to speak. If people are going to speak, just interrupt me, because otherwise
will do.
Or if you see something in the chat, let us know as well. Loving all the collaboration in the chat already.
Yeah.
Okay. So what shall I do next? Oh yeah, we've got a nice description here already as well, which is awesome, like that. So someone can add a description. Maybe we create a release. I can do it manually because the last change that happened was 3 days ago. And I'm guessing the state of the project you're both happy with, like the current state of the project.
Yeah.
So let's maybe create a release. And does everyone know what?
big stuff changing anytime soon. We did like a big refactoring of the code, and feel like it's at a good, at least like, minimum viable point
MVP.
right
Yeah,
now.
it's a
Yeah.
good MVP for now. And we really want to do a lot of user-based research to develop the product around the research and the data that we get back versus like, ooh, we think this might be a great idea. Let's do it. And then we're going in the wrong direction. So
Yeah.
that's another thing that we're going to definitely be focusing on is getting feedback.
Sounds good. And as Abhishek mentioned, there's no deployment. I think there is a deployed version somewhere. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So we need to add a link to the repo so people can find it. So Laurel, if you could send me in the chat on StreamYard the link, I can share it in the chat on YouTube, because YouTube will remove the link if you share it, and then I can add it to the repo as well. Aha. Perfect. And then labels, people are asking about labels. So I want to do first, before I forget, if someone could raise an issue for a release. We haven't got one yet, but I'm going to do that, and people can raise it in the past. So what we will do is go to tags and go to releases, and we will create a release. And I want to automate this later on with GitHub Actions. We'll see how time goes. But for now, I'm just going to do it manually. So let's create a release, and we'll take it from the main branch, and then we're going to give it a release name. What are all your thoughts on release names? I'm kind of a fan of like that. I don't know what you all think.
Yeah, I like the
Beautiful.
number system that you were telling us about before. That made a lot of sense.
So I'll do it manually.
Semantic versioning makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. I'll do it manually for now, but we will hopefully get time to automate this. If not, we'll do a part 2 or do it asynchronously as well. So I'm going to do it manually for now. And in the description, what can I write in the description? You just said you did a refactor, Matthew. So can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah. So when the project was initially started, we didn't have much JavaScript knowledge, so it was a lot of copy paste, not very dry. So I took what was, I don't know, over 1,000 lines of code of JavaScript and refactored it into a constructor so that it went down to like, I don't know, a couple hundred lines of code, so that it, just instead of having to redo it, we just made a script that did it for us. Because we're still learning, as all this stuff is all learning process. We're having a great journey with it, but with that comes a lot of, we probably could do this. We probably could do this instead of, and make it drier, easier on the browser, that kind of stuff. So that's the kind of stuff we were working on with this refactor, is just make it smaller, make the HTML size smaller, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, sounds good. I'll try and write some notes in. And again, this is usually automated from the Git commits, as Tom mentioned. But for now, let's do something just as a starting point. I changed it to number 2 because you had a kind of, it sounds like you had a 0.1 before. So I feel this is a point. Well,
Yeah.
it's a refactor, so it probably was a major, but I'm not going to get into anything, we'll just start from 2.
Yeah, that works for us.
Can you do a past release from the UI from a different Git commit?
Point.
Does that work?
You can, yes. Let me come back to this one then. It's a really good point. So you can do it from a commit, but I don't know if it was all done in one commit or
it
from
was
multiple
not, no.
ones.
Yeah, we were messing with little pieces and realizing like, we should have done this, and it was a
you can do it async, maybe on the CLI, just like figure out the old commit, which marks the version, do a git tag, push it, and from the git tag you can create a GitHub release as well. So
I haven't done that before. Okay, that's interesting. I've always done it from branches rather than from commits. So it's interesting that that's possible.
Yeah, from my experience, sometimes when you're releasing something, you might have forgotten to tag something, and from there it's an easy way to fall back to the raw Git CLI command line, and check out the branch, check out the commit, and tag specifically this commit. When you push it, GitHub and also GitLab marks it as a Git tag, and from the tag you can create a release. So Just for an additional context, a Git tag is within the Git repository. So whenever you clone it and you clone it somewhere else, you have the tags available. A release is proprietary in that sense. So it exists on GitHub, it exists on GitLab, and it's an add-on to Git itself. So it's like linked together, and knowing that detail helps you when you have to migrate between different systems and just want to raw Git repository information. But for beginners, it's not really necessary.
No, but that's a really good point, and thank you so much for clarifying that. So on that note, you've given me an idea. So what I'm going to do is, if someone could take a screenshot of this, and we'll all pose, tag us on Twitter, and include that tip that Michael just said, because that was epic. Absolutely right. On GitHub, when I create a release, it automatically creates a tag in Git. So when I clone it, I get kind of a release, but more the raw Git, not the extra fidelity or extra features that comes from GitHub. And so I treat them to be the same. But Michael's absolutely right. They are different. I think that's really important. That's something I don't talk about enough on Twitter. So great point, Michael. And although I knew that, I feel that I forgot that. So that refreshed my memory. So thank you so much. So someone can do that. And whoever's is the best, I will retweet to almost 50,000 followers as well. So tag us and we'll do that. So everyone pose. If you want to take a screenshot and then add that value. Remember, everyone listening, you take the screenshot and put it on Twitter, tag us and add that value so I can reshare it to people who make a live stream. Okay, perfect. Thank you all.
Posing is the thing we can do best, I think.
Okay, I'm going to publish this release. Uh-oh. Did I not? Oh. Create new tag on publish. There we go. That's new. That never used to be there. Interesting.
I think previously it was done automatically, but
yeah.
In essence, you can verify the linking if you clone the repository and run a git log on the CLI. You can see the tag, or you can also do git show and the tag version. So v0.0.2, and then you get to see the details, which is actually being stored in the Git repository itself. I can dive into that because I was a Git and GitLab trainer in the past, but it's a detail to know when you're cloning something and wondering, hey, where are my releases? Yeah, they are in GitHub itself.
That's
I know that there is a CLI for GitHub as well, or specific other local clients and IDEs include that and hide that away from you. And you shouldn't be caring about it unless there is something which is not working. And it's often good to really know the Git basics to debug, or ask a friend to debug, which is more fun.
Yeah, I've just noticed so many new features here. It's got auto-generate release notes, which is really interesting, something I have to look into later on. And this is create new tag. I might have found a bug, I'm not sure. Create new tag on publish and click add. It's not doing anything. So I'm guessing that must be tied into this auto-generate, part of similar to a GitHub action with some buttons. But my concern is, will it let me do it manually? Which I'm pretty sure it should. And I haven't seen this. Something I have to look into afterwards. Make sure you have a valid tag. But unless it does it the other way around.
So maybe you need to create a tag and then a release?
Which I've never done in the past. So that's quite interesting. Yeah, so either it's a bug or it's a feature. Maybe it's a feature, and I haven't done this manually in years. So yeah, interesting. If someone could raise an issue, that'd be quite interesting. Let me see.
I can clone the repository and manually push a tag.
If someone could, someone who wants a green square on their profile, raise an issue on this repo saying create release, but also include creating the release manually had an error. So do that, and we can look into that maybe afterwards, so you don't all get bored while we're struggling with that. Mikhail, Matthew's Twitter should be in the description below. Otherwise, actually, I can drop them in the chat as well. Our Produma's helping me again, I think. Let me see. Maybe we did I do something? Did I not add a name? Was I being really silly? Which is probably the case. The pressure. Let me try again. So if I create a new release, oh, you actually add a name. Right, got you. This is the release name, this is the tag name. Yes, you're right. I always have them the same as part of the GitHub action. So thank you so much, Praduma. Saving the day again. So release, I could put V 0.0.2, but the actual tag shouldn't have the V. If I remember correctly, it should be 0.0.2. Yeah, okay. That's the one. Thank you so much for doing it. You saved my life because I was feeling a bit like, what am I doing? In my defense, it's almost Tuesday for me, so I'm kind of like, half asleep. So,
it's just I didn't know that either. So interesting.
we're all
Maybe
learning together.
UX should be improved.
Yes. I agree.
I won't push the tag then. So I had it prepared on the CLI already.
Okay, thank you so much for doing that though. But you're right, you raise a good point. You can create a tag locally and push it up. And then what will happen when you do that? Go back to one place.
I can show you with a different tag.
It will appear
just for testing. Maybe do
here rather than under releases. So with releases, just going back to what Michael was saying, I created a release. So GitHub has created a tag for me, and you can see it matches with the name that I mentioned. But if you create a tag on the command line, you'll get a tag, but not a release. So just something.
Okay.
When you press refresh, you should see the version 3, which I just pushed.
So I want to refresh the releases, and it shouldn't appear. And then if I go to tags, it should appear. There you go.
Oh, I used the version thing.
That's fine. And then you can create release from here. Okay, so you can then do it from there. So if you're ever on a plane, you haven't got internet, you want to create a release locally, you can do it. You can push it up when you get internet, and it looks like you can create a release from here to have the extra kind of.
And you can also delete it from the web interface. So there's a way on the CLI as well, which is a little complicated, pushing null into an existing ref.
Yes.
Which is super hard to explain on a stream. But yeah, the thing is, since you can manage many things on the server side already, it makes more sense to really navigate in there and press on the delete or purge button rather than fiddling on the CLI.
Sorry, Michael.
Thanks. Yeah, on the CLI, it's git tag -d and then the tag name, and then it's gone as well. So sometimes you might be making a mistake, which I did often in my past open source journeys, and then it's really up to really delete the tag in a speedy way, because some folks have watchdogs on the repositories, and then they automatically publish something, and then it's basically you cannot delete it. When you delete it, you're breaking build process, which is not nice. So like instead of deleting a tag in the future, just tag a new release and just increment the number by 1, or make it a new revision, or add maybe the current date or something, which makes it a unique identifier.
Exactly. And one thing like we do with my client projects or EddieHub projects is we don't really roll back because it's so quick and easy to make a fix and it just deploys out within minutes. We always roll forward. So we'll get a new release, we'll get a new container build, then we'll deploy to our Kubernetes cluster. It's easier than trying to unpick stuff and wind backwards. We'll just roll it forwards. So yeah, we'll automate as much as possible.
The mini workaround trick is more or less you add an empty line to your README or to just some file, commit that, and then you have basically a new version you can tag if you want that. Or you have sort of changelog generation or something else, which also makes the release happen. But yeah, in the past we deleted tags. Nowadays we just roll the next release.
Exactly. And Yasin, thank you so much for talking about the release number as well, for that help. I love to hear that Tom has run Lighthouse and apparently amazing scores. So that's great. There is a Lighthouse action for GitHub action. So if someone can create an issue for that and create a pull request for that. And if you want to know how to do that, I think we have it on, is it our link-free project on EddieHub? I will show everyone that you can go to linkfree.github workflows, I thought we had it on here on Lighthouse. Maybe we don't. But there is somewhere, I know someone in the community will answer in the chat. One of our repos has it, and it's just going to be copy and paste. So do go do that, add that as a pull request, and we'll get that merged in and watch that start running as well. I miss anything in the chat? Let me see.
Yeah, you were talking about issue labels, I think, in the beginning. This is something where we can continue.
That is true. So this is a discussion for all of you then, because there's different ways this can be done. We can create them manually. Let me bring them up on the screen, which we've got. So we've got all these issues, loads of stuff, loving that.
Oh, wow.
And there's the default labels that GitHub creates for us. They're pretty useful and pretty good. However, you can create your own ones, and there is an open source standard for labels that we use again in EdiHub, and we use a GitHub action to create them because there might be like 30 of them. So what are all of your thoughts on labels? Labels are a great way for not only for people to understand like your issues, but to discover your project. So when people search at the top for GitHub and they go to issues and they do a search, by default it shows you mine. But if I search for label good first issue, maybe with Python, maybe with JavaScript, whatever it is. Is it not got a space or something? I can't remember. Is it hyphenated? I can't even remember now. Very bad of me. I should have prepared this beforehand. Okay, there we go. Okay, so there's no space after the colon, my bad. So these are all projects on GitHub. It's searching across the whole of GitHub. So you can then add multiple labels if you wanted enhancement, or you want to fix a bug, combine it with a language, and so forth. So there's lots of issues on GitHub, and this is how people discover your repos.
Yeah, I think using labels is brilliant. I think
that's great.
Would be a great idea to use labels.
Okay, let's do that. And then another green square. Sorry, Michael, covering your face. Emma rightfully points out that we haven't got Lighthouse action on Linktree yet, so another green square for someone as well. Oh, it's still a PR. Okay, so there's an example for someone to copy it as well. Carl, thank you so much for joining. Okay, so what label shall we do? Do you want to create your own ones? Do you have any in mind, or do you want to use maybe some standard ones?
I don't have any on the top of my head. So.
Yeah, I'm looking through these labels, and it looks like they're pretty decent for things that we'll start using them for initially. I think as we go along and progress and need things specific to the project, we could create like our own labels for that. But other than that, I think we standard ones initially.
Let's do that. And also, Carl has pointed out that Carl has got so many awesome projects on EdiHub. We have a project which is Good First Issue project. So if we add the label EdiHub Good First Issue, any issue that you add that label to, it appears in the project on EdiHub as well. So you get more visibility for your project. So we'll give that a test in a moment as well. Can't believe Carl is going because I'll probably break it and need Carl to help me sort it out. That should be straightforward, I'm joking. On your repo, I'm just going to go hide the wiki again before I forget. I forgot to do that.
Another thought on issue labels is when you're like expanding and making it bigger, and you might have a mono repo, for example, where you have backend and front end, and you wanna create something like a scoped label. And this is something which GitLab has in GitHub. You can do, for example, with the colon or with a slash in saying, hey, this is type, or this is area / backend or front end, or this like touches the documentation. So you kind of make it sortable in a sense of this is the type, and then have specific other things. But for like when you're getting started and in a small project, it totally makes sense to use the default labels. But who knows how many contributors you will get in the future, hopefully. There might be the need for discussion in an issue to expand on the existing labels. You can use the API or specific other tools really to automate renaming of labels and all sorts of magic in the background. We did it in the past with an open source project, which we migrated to GitHub. So there are ways to automate the boring stuff when it gets too, when you need too much time, in essence. But yeah, just for now, it totally makes sense to use the default.
Yeah, try and automate as much as possible and then customize later. It's good to have something to get started. So this is I use a GitHub action. So this is it. So everyone looking, this is if you want to get a green square or make a pull request contribution and get your name on, where is it? Go to here, get your profile picture appearing on the contributors on this repo. Then you can literally copy and paste this file and put it in the same directory on the Talk to Me technology project. GitHub Actions, or a lot of the modern day CI nows are literally copy and paste config and make tweaks. These are variables, but the GitHub token is created when the GitHub action runs. So this is just kind of like a standard variable. And the repository owner and repository name, again, are environment variables in the GitHub action. Yeah, that's something to do. If so, a PR created already, I love that. That's awesome. Thank you, Shasmita. Super, super awesome. Already done. Thank you. Will the live chat be up? Well, yes, the live will be up afterwards, so you can catch up on it after as well. Cool. Okay. And hopefully this issue is available on the action as well. We don't have to add it manually. I can't remember. If not, there's definitely some more green squares for people. So let's have a look. So apparently we have a pull request, create labels, and this is how we review it as well. So create labels, and then we go to files change. Let's have a look. It's in .github workflows labels. That looks good, and that looks pretty good to me. So just to be, what's the word? Follow best practices. We should have an issue first so we can discuss it before the changes. New release. Let me close that. New release created manually. And then really what I should do is actually just link that. So I'm just going to kind of reduce the numbers as I go along as I see things. So I will just copy that. Drop that in there. It's off. And I can assign that to me to say that it was something that I did. Okay, back to issues. So let's create another issue, which is going to be, let me close that one. Something like this. Create GitHub action for issue labels. GitHub action to create issue labels. And really you want to add a description and give a bit of information and people can discuss it. But for the sake of time, I'm just going to hit submit new issue. And we've got a number now, so 16. And then if I go back to the pull request, which I think I closed, and we can see another pull request coming in. In here, what we do is the person would then, when they raise the pull requests, and this is where templates really help, is at the top of the pull request say closes and then the number, and the number was 16, already on 16, awesome. So create issue. And I'm going to hit update. So I left it the same description as I did, but I just added this in. And if you hover this, you'll see GitHub says it will close this issue. So it creates less admin for the maintainer to have to then go find the issue and so forth. And then also should link it together. As you can see now, if someone stumbles across the issue, even when it's closed, they can get the pull request from it as well. So you're trying to link issues to pull request and pull request to issues. And you can see Schmelter has already reviewed it. And this is a great example. I love this. If you're not a maintainer on a project, you still can get involved in the project. You can still review it. You can still give your thoughts and feedback.
That's awesome.
The only thing you can't do is hit merge. But what I love is when we come to some of my projects, like on EddieHub, for example, we've got maintainers. They review it as well as the community and they merge it. Say on my personal projects, on my repo, where I'm the only maintainer, it's very few of those, but I have some. I usually get to it, and it's got 3 or 4 reviews and everything's taken care of. I can literally just hit merge. And it's such a great way to bring on more maintainers because you can see people already collaborating on it, already familiar with the project. But please, everyone, I beg you, don't just hit approve pull request without reviewing it just to get the stats. It will hurt your account and it will really upset maintainers. It's a good way to get blocked on repos, organizations, because unfortunately you're not adding value, you're creating noise. So if you think it's a good review, do approve it. But if you don't and you're not sure, ask questions by all means. I'm going to show you how to do that now, but don't just hit approve, as we have had, unfortunately, 1 or 2 people in the past just go through and approve every pull request without checking it, because it confuses the whole situation. And to add a question, I can say something like this: is this the latest version? You can ask questions in line by clicking the plus on the side, and then hitting add single comment. Again, Shusmita, just ignore that. That was just an example. So the author of the pull request will get the notification that there's a question there, and they can reply and we can have a discussion. But no need for this one. Let's get it merged. And I see Shmelto, as you can see, Tom has reviewed it, but Tom has also used a tool we're trialing called SEMA Technologies. It allows you to use templated responses. So therefore, you can improve the responses that are quite common, like looks good to me, but you can also add a bit more information. It makes it a bit easier. Again, it's something I'm going to do a live stream and a video on in the future, so I'm not going to kind of add more to the conversation now. You can see Produma is using it as well. So if you don't use the plugin, you get this below. But if you use the plugin, you get a lot more functionality to it as well. So that's why you see this. And I think it's great. And you can filter by tags and all the rest. So and then you can see my question appeared here. Okay, so let's get this merged. Merge, and I'm just going to do a standard default merge for now. There are I can see Michael smiling. It's important when we use the automated GitHub action to create the releases that you do squash. But again, we'll take a step at a time. I'm just going to confirm the merge, and it's going to get merged in for now. So if I go back to the repo, you'll see that it was merged in, and in the history, you will see 8 minutes ago, the commit is there and my commit merging in. One thing I do want to point out, and one thing I didn't check, and it doesn't affect this project, it affects the contributor. So if you look at this is great. So if you look, Shushmita has done it not in the default branch. So it's not in main. And they could have done it in main, and it wouldn't have caused any problems on this time round. However, if we squash the pull request, then the second contribution will have issues because the history won't align. And as they try to update their forked version, it will say something's wrong, you've got conflicts, and you can conflict with yourself, which is really confusing. So it's really important to never make changes to the default branch in your fork. Do it in any other branch name. And then before you create a new contribution in the future, make sure you go back to the default branch in your fork, update it, then make a new branch. So you don't want to make patch 2 from your patch 1 because you'll have the same problem. So this is a great example.
And I think you can update the fork origin on the UI. If you want to do it on the CLI, you can work with two remotes. So like you have the default, which is called origin in Git. And this is like the forked repository you're using. And then you say git remote add upstream, for example, for the upstream repository. And so you can keep things in sync. So in your local branch, it would be git pull upstream main, pulling the upstream into your fork. And then you have it available. I'm sometimes faster working on the CLI myself. So I know all the magic commands, but the thing is like git checkout -b and the branch name from the current branch brings you into a new one. You can work, you can push, and so on. And you never should be touching main. This is the thing. So like really focusing on a branching model for features, for bug fixes, for anything, even releases. And this like maps directly into pull request on GitHub, into a merge request on GitLab and other systems. The reason, and there are many discussions out there about development workflows, the reason why I think pull and merge requests are great because you can see the history of the code reviews, you can see the discussion. You can even learn the decisions being made in the process of adding something, and not just like 2 weeks in the past, but instead like in 2 years, and the teams might have changed over time and maintainers have gone. You can still see what has been changed, which is, for example, not the case if you push to main all the time, which is called track-based development, for example. So like when you're working on bigger teams and changes always happen, use branches, use pull and merge requests, because it's documentation already, and it also helps you to add documentation then, like from the decisions, what is the current state. And depending on the development workflow, either have the documentation updated in the pull request or add it as an extra step, which kind of brings us to task lists and Markdown formatting and templates, which we didn't add yet.
Yeah, we need to do those as well.
Which is a great bridge builder now. Eddie, it's your turn again.
Okay, just to answer this question, Abhishek, you're right. When I say things like this, it is really confusing. I have some videos on this from maybe 2 years ago, but you've given me a great idea to actually do an updated video, and I can use this project as an example. Therefore, it works twofold. One, we get some more understanding on those commands that I mentioned and how to make our lives easier and avoid conflict. It'll be a short 5-minute video. I can also show how to do the similar thing on the UI as well as on the command line, but also get more publicity to this project. So it's like, 2 birds, 1 stone, love it. So Abhishek, could you maybe, I was going to say raise an issue, but I've got so many GitHub notifications. Since we've been on this live stream, I've got, let me check. Oh my God, I've got like 140 GitHub notifications since we've been on this live stream already. So I'll probably miss it. If you don't mind DMing me on Twitter or on Discord and just say create video on branching and conflicts or something. I'll remember what it is when you do that, and I will create that probably tomorrow. So that'd be awesome. Thank you. Okay. We'll get to templates in a moment. So if someone can raise an issue, actually, do we have one on templates?
I think we already have some.
Oh, we do, yes.
The amazing contributor, whose name I forgot now, raised it. Thanks. Nice. Raised it on Saturday, I think.
Oh, yes, and before. Okay, perfect. Okay, let's have a look. So we do have this GitHub workflows, and we have labels. So it's been created. We'll check this works before we move on to the next thing. Let's see, did it run? It is running at the moment. And I think the reason why it's running is we have to approve it. I think usually the first time you get a contributor, you have to, approve it. But it might have already run. Yours is fine. Waiting for check to run. Okay, that's for your Lighthouse. Okay, so it's taking a moment to start. And the other one didn't run, I don't think. Import open source standard. It's manual running. Okay, brilliant. So let's run this now. We'll run that workflow. And we should get our labels, because if we look in the labels, we have 9, which is the original 9, but that number should increase to, I don't know what it is, like 25 or something. So we will see that. And it follows the open source conventional kind of standard, which I think shows consistency. So when people are searching, they know what to search for on GitHub. And I've added a few more things to it, like points. I don't want to get too much into it, but it's great to have a good first issue. I actually created a video on this last week, but there are different levels. And I think Mikkel is in the chat. There are different levels of good first issue. And so what I wanted to demonstrate is with story points or points of a ticket is a good first issue for someone else, for person A, might not be the same type of good first issue for person B. Right? If one's a back-end person, they're going to be more familiar with a back-end task. And if they're a front-end person, they're going to be more familiar with front-end tasks. But what I want to try and demonstrate with story points is if one good first issue is 1 point and a second good first issue has 3 points, then in terms of risk and unknown and so forth increases rather than the time or effort and so forth. So really that should be done by a group of people rather than one person, because no one knows what that 1 point is, but at least they know that whoever pointed it, that it's on a scale, that 3 points is more than one. So if they want something easy, they go for one, or something easier, I should say. Not easy, easier. But, okay, Lighthouse failed. We'll come back to that in a second. The standards issues have passed. So let's look.
Yeah,
We've got 28
I need
now.
to fix the lighthouse thing because I'm too dumb today. No, just kidding. I was copying the documentation, and later on I figured I should be editing the URLs actually from example.com to something else. and the runner was not picking up, so I was staring at the screen for 10 minutes now. Like, yeah, okay, maybe I might be installing my own local runner for that, which you shouldn't do, but it's an option.
So we can have a look. Let's see if someone commented. So this is the changes that were made. And we can see URLs to check is example.com and example.com blog, which is not part of this app. So that's quite interesting. So apparently we've got a budget path as well. So don't forget the budget.
Yeah, this is what I copied. But the thing
Yeah,
is,
I'm teasing. I'm joking.
I can be as experienced as possible. But in this case, I'm a newbie and I'm reading the docs and just copying and expecting it to work. So I didn't read properly, and now I need to fix it.
I do that all the time, and so that's why there's good docs, right? The good docs is when you've got something really simple and you can literally copy and paste it, get it started. The person gets excited and looks further into customizing it and so forth. So if they had done something like google.com, that probably maybe would have worked. I don't know, but it would have been a false, I suppose. Oh, it's gone green, great, and maybe a month later people realize it's not checking the right app.
Yeah,
it's
that's
checking
the thing.
something else.
I would say for like when you're creating a workshop or something small as a snippet to learn, it's great to have the 5-minute success and really have something which works all the time, like Google or something else. If you do it in an official documentation, you should be using something like example.com or whatever, so that it fails and people can really customize for the environment.
Absolutely. I've seen this happen with automated testing and other things. I remember going into one client, really quick story, I promise. Automated testing is so important, but to see it read is so important. I went to one client, big client in the UK, and they were like, our automated test pass. And then I deleted the entire code base and ran the test. They still passed. I said, there's no value in that. You've got false hope. And what it was the test was testing like if 1 equaled 1. But everyone, but it was under the scenes, like hidden away. And so everyone was writing all these complicated tests, but the actual assertion wasn't really doing the assertion. So the red is important. So Michael was just proving that it went red and before we get it green. So that's test-driven development. That's what we love. And Praduma saying we need Michael on another live stream. I love that. Okay. And Praduma saving the day, run it manually. Thank you so much. I forgot. Okay. Awesome. So we could put a comment in. So no one picked up on that. Minus 5 points to everyone watching this live stream. You didn't notice it was example.com. That's fine. We all missed it. Okay. So we've got the issues. So now what we can do as maintainers on the repo, as I mentioned, people can merge pull requests, but they can also add add labels to issues. So for example, we've got this issue already, and this is actually a really great example. So Shushmita has raised this issue, and apparently it's a duplicate, which is fine. It happens, no problem. Contributing file, code of conduct. And as you can see, I'm trying to find it. There is one down here. Here we go. So what I would recommend, this is great that Abhishek put in a comment and helped the maintainers to say it's a duplicate. But what would be really helpful is make it easier for everyone. And you can do that by adding a link to the original one. And that way, again, just makes it easier for someone to spot and notice that. So it's really important. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to give a task to Laurel or Matthew. And the task is going to be, if you could edit Abhishek's comment or even put a new comment in and just say, yeah, this is a duplicate, put a link to the other issue, and then please close this. Then we can get the issues down from 12 to 11 as well. But thank you, Shushmita, for raising. Appreciate it. I think the other one, by the way, is, I lost it. I did see it before. But double check that it's a duplicate. contributing file. A code of conduct. I thought I did see it. I must be going crazy. Double check it. If it's a duplicate, then we close it. If not, then we keep it. Okay, so back to the issues. So what we can do now is the labels. We've got all these labels now. And so code of conduct, we should have, you can see got the points in there. We've got how important it is. So I want to put that as critical. I think that's super important to have that. It's not a question. It's not a blocker, anything like that. I think because it uses a template, again, you should point as a team on these, but just for the sake of time, I want to pick a one pointer. And it's an improvement, and it's text. It's not code or anything like that. And so now the issues appear. So anyone searching for those on GitHub, this issue would appear. Or if someone wants to filter by one pointers or critical, they can click on it directly and it automatically filters it at the top up here, just to let everyone know if you want to search for things as the issue number. I know that we're all going to wake up tomorrow and it's probably going to have like 100 issues already. So this is a great way to kind of filter stuff if people want to see it. Okay. Showed labels. What else did you want to show? Actions. Have we gone green? Okay, it's still going red. We'll let Michael work on that for the moment. And everyone, if you do want to look at why it's failing, you can go to actions. You can click on the action. The latest one is at the top, and then you get to see kind of the workflow where you can have multiple ones of these, and then you can click on it and you can go to that step, and then you can kind of actually see what happened. The error looks a lot shorter, so we're getting closer.
It's the typical story when you start with CI. It's red, then it's red again, different error, and at a certain point it's green again. We're still like hoping for an easier way, but that's about it.
Sounds good.
So don't feel ashamed when CI is not working in the beginning. When I start a fresh project, and it doesn't matter whether it's GitLab, GitHub, whatever, CI is red, and then you fix it.
Yeah, red CI is, if you don't see red CI that often, you get a bit worried that maybe it's just always green. So yeah, so red CI occasionally is a good thing.
Yeah, then when it's always green, you check for exit 0, which is basically success, which is fake. So you should fix that.
Yeah. And Praduma is sharing some more green square love. So anyone who needs some more green squares, add an issue for adding workflow, the badge to the README as well. And Emma's saying we need to allow Lighthouse CI to the repo. Okay, so you might have to check the docs for that.
So I need not maintainer permissions, but admin permissions? Potentially.
I don't know if anything came up on that. Emma, if you could shed some more light on that. And Praduma's saying maybe private token. I need to check that. You might be right. It's not in a fork, so it should be okay. But let's see. Other thing I was going to say that I've now forgotten. I can't remember. I'll come back to it. Check the token. Okay. Emma is saying you need to add more than just the action for Lighthouse. You need a config file to authorize Lighthouse. I don't remember doing any of this. My memory is terrible. Okay. There's something we can look into. Again, I don't want to get too focused on one particular thing. We're trying to do a light touch on lots of things, and then we can kind of come back to it later on as well. And we can always have some Discord calls where we can bring people up as well, because I know Emma will show us like in 1 second rather than us kind of struggling around. And there's only so much you can type in the YouTube chat as well. So maybe it's something we can do on a Discord call, and people can actually help us and share their screen and so forth. Okay, I've just seen this. Oh no, really? I've missed this for a while now. I know someone mentioned it a long time ago and I completely forgot. Emma, get me on a call tomorrow and we will resolve this once
Getting called out in your live stream. That's nice.
No, I love that. This is why I love the Elliot community. They know to call me out. And Emma is an amazing maintainer and mod, so that's really awesome.
Yeah, no, just kidding. I think I have no idea, so I was just following the documentation and adding it, and it didn't work. So now we learned we need authorization and much more things, I think.
Yeah.
Probably should have read the documentation first, but sometimes I'm really like, let's try it out and see how far I can get.
It's the way, right? Just try it out and try it out. And Mikhail's saying collaboration, collaboration, collaboration. Exactly. So I've noticed I've done something very, very bad, and that I did say I was going to put the URL in the repo so people could find the deployed version. And I shared it in the chat and forgot to add it to the repo. So the downside of not doing that is, where is it? I did see it. Carl has also asked, where is the deployed version? So if I had done that first, this is why documentation and organizing everything is really important. So therefore, we can still have that collaboration, but we can collaborate on the more important things rather than the same thing over and over again. So thank you so much for reminding me, Carl. I want to do that right now. And that's the website deployed. So it's in the repo, but I will share it in the chat again.
Yeah, you can also look into my now fixed, no, not fixed PR, but I edited the URL from Netlify in there.
Okay, so it won't pass still because you need the approval. You don't need the budget.json though. So I'm going to leave a comment and say, is this still needed? Question mark. And it's really important on how to give reviews. And I think it's a skill that I'm still learning, and it's something that takes time to learn. Because sometimes we write a short reply and it can be taken in the wrong way. So I think it's like, is this still needed? So I think this could be taken in a bit of a mean way. So, maybe I should have written more. But on the live stream, and Michael knows I'm a friendly guy and always smiling. So hopefully he won't be offended by it. But that's something we should probably discuss about in the future. I know with Mikhail we've talked about, and actually Matt, who isn't here, about maybe having a live stream or a Twitter space on how to give good reviews. I think it's really, really important. Okay. Let's have a look. Right, what next? What have we got?
Such a stream would be awesome. So I can source from my past with confident in C++ and Python the most. But I would love to join and just share on ideas on code review, and also like using it in a way of being doing a little mentorship, and also encouraging others to learn and not just fix the code.
Yeah, it's about knowledge transfer as well as making improvements to original changes. So I have a question for Laurel and Matthew. How are we doing on this project on the live stream? Are we looking good so far?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's looking really good.
It looks like there's a lot to learn and do, which I'm excited for. So trial by fire kind of a thing for me. But that's the best way to learn sometimes, is to just say, hey, I don't know how to do this, so I'm going to research how to do it. And then if I can't figure it out there, I'm going to reach out to y'all and see what we can figure out.
Sounds good. I've learned so much today already as well. We've already done over an hour. Time flies when you're having fun.
That's right.
So we've got 13 stars. We've got some contributors here as well. So we're going to get a few more in too as well. So the README doesn't have a screenshot. So if someone wants to take a screenshot, all you have to do is click on the deployed version, take a screenshot of it, and add it to the README. And again, an animated GIF or a video would be really nice, but that's more work. Let's just add value as soon as possible, and then we can iterate on it and make it fancier, better, and all the rest. Okay. Right. I see Carl coming up with some really good suggestions as well. Carl, raise it as an issue because I will forget. And you did say something out. Oh, yes, about that label, getting it to appear in the EddieHub project as well. You might have to do that afterwards. So what else have we got? So lots of issues being raised, lots of green squares for people. Don't forget, do some pull requests. Let's have a look. This is assigned already. Okay, brilliant. What else should we do next? Don't forget, do check out the Insights tab. Everyone watching, you can get some ideas for issues to raise, but also for actual raising pull requests. So Laurel, do you have an idea, or Matthew, on licensing that you'd like to do for this? Maybe this might be one for later, but you might have thought about it already. I don't know.
Yeah, I think Michael was kind of talking about licensing the other day and the different options. And I think, Michael, were you recommending doing the MIT license was the most the one that would enable people to use this?
I think MIT or maybe Apache version 2 is widely adopted, and is like it doesn't restrict anyone from contributing. And I don't think you need something like GPL, which restricts you in a way that you, for example, when you use the software in an enterprise closed source environment, that you need to publicize the changes. This is something you probably don't need. So you have a really like open source license, and it's really open. From there, I think MIT or Apache is just fine.
Yeah, so I think MIT would be the way to go just initially, and if we ever need a different one, I don't think
so
foresee us needing. Yeah,
I was using GPL, or I was bound to GPL in past projects because it was a fork of a previous other project. But yeah, we at GitLab we use MIT for open source software, and within the Cloud Native Computing Foundation, I think it's a mix of Apache and MIT. So they're widely adopted, and it's also a great way you can reuse certain code snippets from MIT into Apache and vice versa, I think. But I'm not a lawyer. Please read it up. The thing you cannot do is, for example, you cannot use Apache code in GPL code and then compile it and ship it. That's not allowed. And this is like a rabbit hole with open source licenses. So for beginners, I would just recommend MIT and Apache. And if you're looking to maybe monetize the project later on, or add an enterprise version on top with open core, it's still possible to change that at a later point.
yeah,
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Go on, Laurel.
Oh, I was just gonna say, yeah, I think probably MIT. It sounds like the way to go. What do you think, Eddie?
Yeah, I think MIT is a really good one as well. I've just brought up this website by GitHub, and they give you some examples. So, for example, MIT is used by Babel.net and Rails as examples. I have got a YouTube video comparing all of these, and I did get some advice to do it, and I did script it, get it checked, because I think I understand it, and I start reading it and I get confused. So again, I'm not a lawyer, but I did validate what I put in that video. And if you want to know more information about each one, you can click on find out more, and then you can see the comparison. So if you go down to like MIT, you can permissions that people can have, conditions, and then if you hover over it, you get more information about that. So let's do MIT for now. So let's do licensing. I want to hit add, and then we can choose and go down to MIT. You can see these are the popular ones. And let's review and submit. Again, it's giving us a bit more information over there. GitHub really helps with this. I'm just going to create it. Usually you do it to a branch, but I haven't changed anything. This is a template effectively. So I'm going to be very bad and create it to the main. Okay, so now on the insight, we should see a green tick. Yeah, green tick done. It's not a full house yet, but we're working towards that. So if license is here, license, I can now close that and I can say done. Thank you. I close. I'll just assign that to me. Okay, another pull request has come in. So we're going to leave this pull request for Lighthouse for the moment because it's failing. We don't want to merge things that are failed. And things you can do to stop this is if you go to the branches, settings, then branches, you can you set your default branch, but then you can also add rules. So therefore, require a pull request before merging. You can make sure the status checks are passed. So therefore, it's green before merging, so you never merge in anything that's broken. You can actually require that your signatures your commits are signed, but that will prevent a lot of people from contributing. So that's something, much I love it. It's something we don't really do in open source projects, but the importance of it is it checks that the commit came from the person who committed it rather than someone else pretending to be them, which is possible to do. Other thing I like to include is include administrators. So for example, if that was ticked, I couldn't have committed to the main branch. We would have actually had to come for a pull request. I think that's quite important. And I leave these leave this off. Do not allow force pushes. I'm really not a fan of force pushes on the main branch. If someone's doing it in a pull request on their own branch, until it gets merged, they can do whatever they want as long as they're the only people working on it. Because as soon as you start rewriting history and someone else is working on it, you'll start getting really weird conflicts. So I think it's important, if you're the only one working on a feature branch or a bug fix branch and you decide you want to change the history, by all means, do whatever you want. But as soon as it's merged or someone else wants to work on that branch with you, if it's a bigger feature and there's two of you working on it, don't rewrite history until you're both done. You might rewrite it as part of the merge or something like that. Just be respectful of people's history and don't create more work for yourself. But I won't protect it now. That's something that can be added later.
To add to the thing,
Yes,
when
please.
you're working in a feature branch together, so this can happen when you have sort of like bigger changes coming in. There is a way to reset your current branch to the one which has been pushed. So you need to do a git fetch instead of pull. And then I think it's git reset -- hard origin and the branch name. But beware, if you have local changes, you need to stash them. Like, stashing means putting them aside temporarily. Then you can like update what the other side or your team member has been like force pushing, and then you can continue your work and hopefully commit, push, and be on the same side again. But
I think this would be better done as a video, though. There's your next video, Michael.
Yeah, the thing is, like, Git is sometimes a little black magic, and when it goes into advanced conflict resolving, it needs some visuals and some drawings.
Yeah.
Sorry for jumping in. I
fine.
also created a pull request for updating the screenshot in the README. If you want to review that.
Let's have a look. I think someone beat you to it.
Oh, yeah, then someone beat me to it, and I'll close mine as duplicate.
Yeah, you can close it as duplicate. I think you got beaten to it. So I've gone to the pull request. I've gone to files changed. And this, we can't see it. So what I recommend people raising pull requests is add a screenshot to, I know it's kind of like Inception, it's a screenshot pull request, and we add a screenshot to it. But screenshots are really, really helpful. And so what we can do though to view it before we merge it, we can see the changes. We can see it's got a heading 1, which is probably not the right thing for a heading 1. So I want to show a trick on how we can make some changes to that. And then it's got an image, but I don't know what that image is. So yes, I could grab the URL, paste it in. Other thing you can do is click on these 3 dots and open in a new tab, view file. And we can see what the rendered version looks like. So this is what it looks like. The reason why there should only be one hash title, so one single hash title, so a H1 on the page. This is probably like a H2, for example. But thank you so much for the pull request, Shushmita. I want to leave a comment and say, I think this should be a H2 or double hash. Another thing we can do is there's this button up here. I don't know if anyone noticed. It's suggestions. And the reason for this is if I make this comment, someone might, obviously this is quite a straightforward one, but say I'm trying to explain something that doesn't quite make sense. It's not very clear. Rather than having back and forth conversation, I can make almost like a micro PR to this PR. It won't be a pull request, but I can make a suggestion. I really like this. So this one will be what they've got, and then I can make some changes. So actually that didn't come through right. I don't think. It should have been a minus and then a plus. That's a bit strange, but I would say something like that. So if I copy and paste this, I can preview it and check. Why does that come up with 2? And then what it would be.
Can you show me the suggestion again?
Yeah.
I think you just need. No.
Is it just the one?
Just the one you want to change.
Okay, got you. How does it know what line it is though? Oh, it's the line above it. Okay, interesting. Perfect. Yeah. So, and then I can submit this as a comment, and then Shushmita or someone else can actually, they will have a button that says accept. So it will add the commit and change to their pull request without them making the changes locally or whatever it is, if it's just something kind of small. Obviously, if it's multiple lines and a bit more complicated, they probably want to do it. But another thing you can do is, if you want to discuss something and it's more going over multiple lines, so maybe I don't know, come up with a simple example. You can do diff, and so say it's a multiple line changes. I think we should, explain a bit more, but we could say, right, so this is the lines. This could be line 1, and I could say remove line 2, and then add line 3. And then this is not, they can't accept this. They would have to make these changes manually. But the interesting thing is they can actually see what you mean if it is a kind of a complicated discussion. Again, that's available everywhere on GitHub where Markdown's possible. And so I just, again, a bit of a tip there. And I can see now the refresh button has appeared at the top. So I'm guessing another commit has come in. I hit refresh. Yep, it's been accepted. And then also, Michael has also, again, made some changes too. Again, so another suggestions come in, which is great. So now it's not mine. I can also accept it as well if I want.
Just to give more context, I didn't comment it yet. When you're adding a markdown picture, you can add an alt text to it. And I prefer to have it descriptive. And okay, overview is not really inspiring, but it's better than the default, which says image. I think
that makes sense.
It gets rendered when you're doing a mouse over on the picture, but I'm not sure.
I think it does as well.
It's important for accessibility as well.
Absolutely. I've been really bad with the chat, so I've missed that. So I can see Emma Dawson, I've got multiple Emmas, so I'll say Emma Dawson, has said, added a suggestion, and I missed that, as Michael said. And Praduma's also said it, so sorry, everyone. This is where having two screens is really helpful, because when I go to the GitHub page, I lose all the chat and everything else. So thank you all for shouting at the screen, saying, Eddie, this is simple. Like everything is simple when you know how.
I think discovering the button is not simple, because I know that GitLab has the same functionality. And when you figure out the button and you want to make a suggestion and you're not sure about it, just do it in your own repository and play around with it. The more confident you get with suggestions, the more powerful they are. Because rather than opening your local client and do fetch, pull, push, whatever, you can just make a suggestion in your browser, which is helpful, for example, writing documentation or fixing a typo or things you can do on the iPad or on the tablet, which is amazing. Similar to, you can even run Gitpod on the iPad, actually. Different thing which we should touch base on. But the more easy and approachable it is and the more accessible it is, the better the contributions also get.
Exactly. And you mentioned Gitpod, which is something we'll just briefly touch on now. So Carl, are you still here? Carl is from the Eddie Hub community and at Gitpod as well. So I know Carl will Gitpodify this project like in a few seconds, and it'll make it easier for people to contribute. They can contribute from, like you said, from the iPad. And as you add Mongo or whatever it is, they don't need to install and set up all these things. They can click a button and start contributing in a whole dev environment for free, which is amazing. So hopefully Carl is still here and can help us with that. I see Francesco has joined us. Everyone's heard of Francesco. Francesco's recovering from COVID, another awesome YouTuber. And on Twitter, you probably all know Francesco already, doing so many things in the kind of Docker space and Web3. I don't want to shout about that. So,
Web3, yeah, that's interesting. Tell me more.
No, that's enough. I'm still studying Web 2. I'm still learning it.
Yeah.
Carl
I would
is
love
here.
to learn more, but I don't have time. So
yeah. The project isn't having an install or start command. You know what? Let me merge this PR and then let's chat about the actual code in the project for a moment. We haven't covered that, so I think it's a really good idea. And you can hear less from me and more from others. So yeah, this looks really good. So thank you so much. We're going to say approve. It looks great.
We also got another pull request already with a GIF, which might have a conflict now. Please do rebase.
Okay, so I don't want to make this too complicated, but they'll have to potentially rebase. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to squash this. So just to talk about, briefly touch on the different merging principles. There are three, and Michael can jump in and probably explain it a lot better than me. There are three ways to merge. There might actually be more, but like kind of the main ones. The create a merge commit, which you saw me do before. So in the history, you have the commit of the person who made the changes, and then you have a merge commit of the merge and the commits coming in. But the reason why on this one I don't want to do this is because if I do that, you'll end up in a history that has update readme, add screenshot, and then the merge commit by Eddie. So it kind of makes the history a bit dirty. And then when you're automating the releases again and the change log, that won't make sense because you'll just have this list of the change log. It won't make sense. So what we can do is, in this case, I would recommend squashing and merging. And what that will do is it will squash it all into one commit. And then I can actually rewrite now what that commit is. Do you agree, Michael? Do you want to explain maybe a bit more about it?
I think it depends on the workflow. If you're following like the good commit storyline and you're developing a feature over like 2 weeks or more time, and you really want to see the design and development history, I would recommend keeping the history of Git commits,
Definitely.
which is like 20 or 30 or whatever. Because when you're coming back, it's super hard to identify a bug or regression in a huge Git diff. This is where I say, well, Git blame is interesting because I know whom to ping and say, hey, please don't do that again. Because I experienced that myself, like staring at the diff and figuring out seg faulting. It's interesting. Yeah, thanks for nothing. Now I need to like revert everything by hand. And so for smaller changes, or when you have like a history which is polluted, I would say, with update readme, the default, try to squash it. An alternative to that is to rebase the history, which means you pick a specific commit in the past and then change all the commit messages based on that. So you can amend the commit history, even change the commit inside, and which changes the history. So you need to force push later on. But it helps to keep the history clean. And I think for open source projects getting started, it makes sense to really like say, hey, squash and merge. So you keep the merge commit as an identifier. But maybe your workflows require a different way, and you also generate the changelog in a different way. So it makes sense to keep the Git history itself. But again, 10 different opinions.
But you raised a really good
use
point.
case.
You did raise a
You
good
need to
point.
discuss this on the team you're working with. Should we like pick the default, squash and merge, for example, or do we need something more special? And then that's the way to go.
Yeah, I think that the point I want to highlight, so many great points in there, but you're right. If it's small like this, then we squash it. We don't need all those different commits that don't add value. But if it's someone's been working on a feature, like Matthew was saying, they did a whole refactor, there might have been 10 or 20 commits as they went through those stages. And they're like descriptive commits. You probably don't want to lose that history. There was a reason for that. If it ever broke at one point, then you might want to lose that. But if each one was it still worked, but you were kind of doing each kind of page or section or component at a time, then you probably want to keep that history. So absolutely right. Really good point there, Michael. Thank you for
and the other suggestion I just have at the top of my head, when you're committing, like you're ending your day and you don't know if you're continuing the next day or the next week, you can also add a work in progress commit like WIP or whatever, and commit that, push that so that your team members can see it. And at a later point, you reset the commit, so you remove it, but keep the changes, which is git reset -- soft head, and then the tilde1 thing, or the second flex. So you can like continue at a later point.
I'm smiling because you need to do some videos on this, Michael.
Yeah, totally. I should use my hands and draw more. The thing is, there are ways to make it work. In an all remote environment, it's super important to really also push the changes, even if they're not finished, so that everyone can have a look, and you can always rewrite it later on. That's the thing.
There's nothing worse than someone spending like hopefully this doesn't happen, but spending a while, like a week on a feature, and then they're off sick or something happened, they've got to deal with it, and everyone else is like, right, we just need to spend an hour to finish off that piece of work, but we haven't got access to it, it's on their computer. So I agree, definitely push it up to a branch, create a draft pull request as well, to say it's not ready for review, but it's there if anyone wants to have a look, or maybe the author wants to get feedback. So draft pull requests are really, really important as well. It shows that don't invest too much time in it, but you can have a peek. I think that's really, really important. Just be careful with the reset command, everyone. You can rewrite history and undo other people's work. So just be really careful with it. I think it's important. I remember someone saying, I want to undo my commit, and they've done a pull. They've put down 2 more commits. So it's kind of their commit and 2 more on top. And they undid it. Their work was still there. They could see it in VS Code. So they did it again. This command's not working. Let me run it again. And eventually their work disappeared, but then so did 2 other people's to get it. So I'm not a huge fan. The reset is used for so many different things. So just be wary with it. But I'm a huge fan of not undoing any commits. There's another commit you can do, another command you can do, and I forget what it is, revert, which effectively, say for example, I did something now and it was in a commit. And I was like, you know what, I want to pull all that out, but it's got 1 line over here in this file, 1 line over here in this file. I don't want to go do that manually. If you do the, let me go back to this. I can actually show it. I won't do it, but I'll show it. So what you would do is if, say, for example, these commits are quite small. Let me see if I can have a bigger commit. Let me go to maybe Matthew's refactor. Let's have a look. Not that one. Okay. Say, for example, like each one of these was in a different file, and I would have to go through the files, undo it. If I wanted to undo this for whatever reason, I could take that hash and do git revert that hash. And all it will do is make a new commit doing the complete opposite of everything that got put in that commit that I shared. And there's the beauty of that is that I still keep the history. So if ever I reverted it temporarily or as a mistake or whatever, I've still got the original changes. And I can just revert my revert if I wanted to, or I can see it and do it manually, take part of it. There's just so many benefits to that. So I'm always keen to, again, roll forwards with your deployments, versions, and also commits. I think that's really, really important. Yes, keeping the history beautiful, within reason, though, I think too. Okay, let me merge this pull request. Where was I? Add screenshots. I think this is looking good now.
Yeah.
So
sorry if I interrupted.
No. It's good. I think it's a great discussion to have. Really, really important. And you've got web dev junkie agreeing with you. Keeping commits has proven to be really useful. Yeah, as long as they're descriptive commits and not work in progress, update, create. In your branch is fine, but it's something you don't really want to keep. So I'm going to squash and merge, so we won't get GitHub automatically puts this in the description of the commit. And I'm going to start using conventional changelog, which is again an open source standard for doing commits. And this will be used later to create the changelog and trigger deployments and stuff. So I want to do that just to set an example. So what we would do here, it would be docs. So it could be a feature, it can be a fix, in this case docs, and the screenshot added to README. Or screenshot added. Added and README aren't great because added, we know it's added from the pull request, and README, we know it was in the README file from the pull request. So you want to add stuff that screenshot of app, I don't know. Then the reason why it has the, if I go back to here and we go to the commits, you can see now there's all those updated and all the rest are not here in the history. They've all been squashed into one. And it said that there are multiple contributors to this as well, which is great. It's partially verified because mine are verified, but someone else in here wasn't. And that goes to the whole verification of the person who they are and so forth. But what I wanted to show is there's a number here, and it's important to leave this in because when you get the change log, if you ever want to go look at the changes, you can just literally click on it. It'll take you straight to the pull request with those changes. So when that gets added, I'd recommend leaving it in. It just makes that whole thing really, really easy. Or easier, not easy. Okay, we've got a template as well. Nice.
Yeah, just added that. I'm not sure if it works because I'm using the Markdown style for templates. But
I've jumped to a different one for a second. Sorry, I jumped to this. So they've an animated GIF on this, which looks pretty cool. But we're gonna leave some comments on this. Thank you so much, Abhishek, for the contribution. But if you look, this isn't being rendered properly. So I always recommend checking. You can see the title because it hasn't got a space after the hashes. It's Markdown's not picking it up. So in this case, I'm just going to suggest, put a space. Can't even write. Put a space. It's definitely late for me.
It's late for you. So
yeah. And then following Michael's suggestion, also maybe you want to change this to be, we call it screenshot? I can't remember now.
He called it overview.
Maybe let's call it animated overview.
Or demo? I don't know. Demo work?
Demo works.
Demo. It should be describing what's happening in the picture.
Demo of app. That totally makes it worse.
Animated overview, I think is what Michael had said, right?
Overview? Okay, overview it is.
Or animated overview.
Oh, animated
overview is like, how would you describe the picture to someone who cannot see it?
Yeah, animated overview.
It's great.
Okay, sounds good. So I've made those suggestions in, so we can come back to that in a minute. Right, I'm conscious of time. We've been going for an hour and 45 minutes. What else should we cover? I know Carl was asking about spinning up a dev environment, which would be great on Gitpod. At the moment, I think it's just front-end code at the moment, so probably keep it really, really straightforward. Should we have a quick look at the code? Does that work for everybody?
Yeah.
And the project, talk us through it?
Yeah.
So where shall I go? What should we do? So Carl also asked about Replit.
Oh, that was us just trying to collaborate on something. We probably should have taken that out, but we were using Replit to collab for a bit just to test some stuff out. We're just seeing which ones worked. We ended up, I think, using Glitch for a little bit, and then that way we can collaborate live, and they can, we can both see changes as we go.
I don't know any of these things. I use VS Code LiveShare.
It's probably the same thing.
Probably. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Well, now that's what I'm going to go look up after this.
Right. I know. We're learning all tools and ways of doing things.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And I think Gitpod has it built in as well. So not only do you get everything, all the dependencies, everything you need, even npm install, everything's done. I think you can collaborate on it. I'm pretty sure that's what we did. Carl and me did on the live stream. Carl, let me know. My memory is terrible. Okay, so where should I go first? Do you want to drive someone? If you could raise an issue and remove the Replit file, and also if someone can raise a pull request as well for that.
Yes.
So Matthew, where should I go? Should I go to the index file first?
Yeah, let's go index. Start with the basics there.
Let's have a look.
Yeah, so it's just a basic. Most of the HTML gets spit out into the DOM by the JavaScript that we made, and then we have a data file that has it has an array of all the information that we use to spit it out.
Let's have a look. So data.
Probably not the best, but we're gonna refactor this and change some of the names and stuff. We don't need I don't think we need the ID as much. As much as we can just use title as the ID, since they're all special anyway. So I switched them all around manually so they would be color coded so that they were grouped up together. That's why they're out of order ID number wise.
I see. Okay.
But like I said, the ID was something that we started with, and then we realized we didn't need it, and then we just haven't removed it yet. And we wanted to get everything at least workable for today. So,
No, that's awesome. One suggestion I have potentially, if you do
yeah,
have they want to group them together, you could potentially in your JSON do it so that you have like sky blue is the property, and then under that you have a collection of all the ones that belong to sky blue, for example.
beautiful. I love it.
Depending on what you want to do on the front end as well. So it's just like with a little bit of information I have. It's just a
No,
suggestion, but it might not fit in with what you're trying to do as well.
well, we can always test it out. That's what the beauty about this project is we're learning all sorts of best practices and mostly learning worst practices, but those eventually get better, right? As you practice and keep going.
Exactly. And so this is the JavaScript.
Yeah, it's not the prettiest thing. We have some stuff commented out, but it's just a basic constructor that I made. Well, we made definitely, and then we just tested things piece by piece until it kind of worked.
Perfect.
We don't, yeah. So all of this stuff, like I said, we're just using what we know, which isn't a ton yet. Every day is learning new stuff, and yeah, this file was like about 1,700 lines. So then I
Wow.
Yeah.
squished it down to this. So
That's
instead of having
amazing.
to copy and paste everything, we're just like, well, why don't we just make it copy and paste for us? And then when we want to
Yeah.
change something, we go in and we on line 15, the box spitter that I made. If I want to change the way it looks, the way that things are set up, I can just go in there, change one thing instead of 1,700 lines of stuff, But
Exactly.
yeah, so I'm sure a lot of this is pretty standard, like, trying to make stuff into scripts, but we're pretty new into the JavaScript world, so I think we're doing pretty good for what
You're
we
doing more than pretty good. You're new to the JavaScript world. You're on a live stream. You're doing open source. Oh my God, it took me like a decade to even start on some of those. So you're way ahead of me. So that's epic.
I think we've
And
been learning JavaScript for like a month now, maybe. I don't even know.
is that all?
Yeah.
Yeah, we started our first JavaScript class was at the end of March.
Yeah. This project was written on the second day I've ever been exposed to JavaScript in my life. Like, which was
Wow.
why it was so many lines of code. And then
Yeah.
the refactoring was done last week, right, Matthew? Or
Yeah, I
you
think we
were-
had known constructors for a couple of days, and I was like,
Yeah,
well, we
a
can use
couple of
that to
days.
redo all this. So it was yeah, as we learn, we refactor and put
Nice.
stuff, we do what we can. Oh, thank you, Emma. That's very nice.
Yeah.
Emma supporting.
Yeah.
And a really great question from Emma as well. What do the colors mean? I think that's really good. So if maybe one of you could raise an issue on what the colors mean, and then someone maybe in the community can raise a pull request, adding that to the README, or one of you could do that as well if you wanted to. But I think it's really important. And I see Carl saying my PR is really bad practice. When Carl says his PR is bad practice, it's like my best PRs are like Carl's bad ones. So yeah, his work is awesome. He's done some great stuff. We'll have always open a PR, Carl. Worst case is it gets closed. If it's not too much effort for you, open it. It's easier to have a look at what the changes are, or maybe raise an issue with some like thoughts and points and see. I really think this project could. I know you're going to add. So maybe we can briefly talk about the future of the project. Is there anything else to check? Let's have a look at the CSS.
We've got
We have tons of ideas of what we want.
new ideas. So in part of that commented out code on the JS, Matthew actually made a constructor
Sorry,
that
JS, did you say? Here we go.
yeah,
Go back
on the
there.
main.
Yeah, it's a comment. I
Oh,
think
this
it's just a
one.
test. It's so that you can
Okay.
add your own. Eventually, you want to be able to add your own tiles, save them, edit it, delete the ones that we have in there you don't like, and then eventually have an account. So it just across all your devices. Oh, I forgot the iPad we usually use. Here I'm going to use my phone. So at least the person who's using this service still has access to on any device, right? We want it to be everywhere, as accessible as possible. And that, when I was working as a behavioral aid, a lot of the day-to-day is it has to be like on a schedule, right? So if things aren't the same, like you pull it up and everything's different, that could throw, the whole day off. But you throw it up on your
Right.
phone and you have your account, so then boom, everything is the same. You have that repetition which is really good, and that way you can, everything is still the same. Might be
Yeah.
smaller, but you know exactly where everything is. You know what
It's
you're
the
getting.
consistency.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and it's tailored to you, right? So it's like, maybe the default green, you
Mm,
want it to be red, so you changed them all to red, and
I
then
see.
and that way when you bring it back up on a computer, you're at your, a family member's house and you forgot your thing, you're like, hey, can I borrow your iPad? Throw that up on there. Everything's the same, and that way, that, like I said, that consistency is still there for the user. 'Cause that's really what this is about. It's about the person who needs it and not about really us. We just want to get it there.
Sure.
Basically, each user will be able to create their own custom COM board. So it's
Okay.
not going to look like this, or they can use the default one, which will be the product that you land on the site. But then you'll be able to eventually create your own user account. You'll create your own custom communication boards with tiles that are provided, or you can create your own custom tiles to add to your own COM board, and also the color configuration and different functionalities as well, which we actually just recently learned that you can integrate this with being able to make phone calls with your COM board. So that's
Right.
like a step that we want to take. Put that, I can't even talk. That's something that we want to add to this as well, because people that have to use that, there's like another piece of technology that you have to use in order to make phone calls when you need a communication system, if you're a nonverbal or non-speaking person or someone that has verbal disabilities. And so this would eliminate that need for them as well. So it's just one more step in the direction of getting them the technology easier and accessible and for free. So we'd love to integrate functionality like that to this as well. And there's some other things that we've talked about, which I'm, what
I mean,
else?
that sounds awesome. And we're going to quickly touch on project boards, or milestones, so we quickly like put those high level ideas in, and you can assign those issues. So we can quickly touch on that. But
Yeah.
before we do, I did. Matthew sent me a message about probably like an hour ago. I completely forgot because I've had so many notifications. I was looking at my Discord and my everything. I've had so many notifications come in. So apologies, I forgot.
Really good.
It's and apparently, Michael's saying Carl's on fire with Gitpod. Okay, we're going to get to that next. My memory's terrible. But don't forget, everyone, to also follow my amazing guests on Twitter. They're linked in the description below. But follow the organization on GitHub and star the project to support. And then we're going to circle back in a moment to the pull requests. But Carl asked a good question, which I was going to ask. It sounds like it's going to be full stack.
Yeah.
That
Eventually, that's the goal.
Okay. And I know Carl is going to suggest SvelteKit. I will recommend Next.js. And what is quite funny is a bit of backstory here. The reason why I find it so funny is Carl recommended Next.js to me and Prime React. And then I get into it. I'm like, this is brilliant. And he switches to SvelteKit and I think Tailwind. I'm like, you got me into this. And then you go on but, it's fine.
Real bait and switch on you.
Yeah. Awesome. Yes, so quite fine. But yeah, see what technology you want to use. I think just seeing looking at the code, I think it would be absolutely great to you could do OAuth authentication, so therefore someone can log in with Google or GitHub. You don't have to worry about managing passwords and all the rest and resetting passwords and those sorts of things. Self promo, I did a video on that like 2 weeks ago, how you can get up and running in like 10 minutes. So that's just done.
Awesome.
And then that'll be Mongo with the back end. And the Mongo video I haven't done yet. So it assumes you've got a Mongo connection, but the library that I use creates all the tables and does the authentication. Literally, it's just 10 minutes, you'll be up and running. And then for the upload of the files, I did a video on that the week before, so 3 weeks ago, how to upload, the user can upload the files to DigitalOcean, again, within 10 minutes. Like how we used to do it before was so painful. And I was just thinking, I tried it and I got up and running so quickly. I was like, I need to do a video on this. This is super awesome. And like DigitalOcean gives you like 250 gigs for like $5 a month. So it's like absolutely nothing. I know Michael's going to be like, let's get Kubernetes involved. I agree. I think we should, but that's a conversation for another time. Especially if you want more apps.
For this project. No.
I meant for the full stack version when you've got, everything else.
User accounts.
User accounts and all that stuff.
I think it's like a great learning curve when you have microservices and front end and back end later on, because it's easier for you to test things. But for now, don't worry about Kubernetes.
Yeah, don't worry about it for now.
Yeah, we haven't even touched the back end yet. That's supposed to be starting soon, but I'm sure 2 days after our first back end thing, we'll build something. That's what we do. We learn one little thing and then just run with it until we build something on it.
Yeah, and I think when you're coming to the front end and back end side, and you have sort of like a little distribution there, and when you want to like debug performance issues or something, I can also jump in and share some ideas and code implementation around observability and app instrumentation. Things I'm learning myself at the moment, but I'm also keen to I have little JavaScript knowledge, just to see maybe how to instrument Node.js and figure out what is slow, what is going on in the code, just to make sure that everything runs smooth, because we want to scale this app to like 1 million or billion users, or something like that. Maybe have a shop, or where user or some donation system, or I don't know. So the possibilities are kind of endless, I would say.
Yeah, if it blows up like we hope it does, we want to. One of the things we want is like the whole paywall thing we talked about is like really important to like figure out how to make it run for free for users. And I think a lot of we're gonna do, I don't know if we'll do grant writing or whatever, but we're gonna ask for donations to help with that kind of stuff, and just go from there. I think that with this kind of service, this kind of project, people will definitely resonate with it and will want to help make it go as far as it can. And if we have some financial restrictions, hopefully the community can help us out and we can continue on. And if not, we'll figure it out regardless, because it's it's that passion that I'm not going to let some money get in the way of me getting this out to people who need it. So if we get some sponsorships, that'd be great. If not, we'll figure it out when that time comes. But yeah, that's definitely what we were looking into, is some donation or sponsorship based thing to make sure that this can be the best possible app for people who need it.
Sounds good. I mean, there's just so many ways to get I think like free hosting. So for example, in the YouTube description below, I've got my affiliate link for DigitalOcean. So if you pay anything in the future, I might get like, I don't know what it is, 10% of it or something. But by signing up, you get immediately like $150 credit, and $150 goes really far, because my spaces for 250 gigs cost me $5 a month, and my Kubernetes cluster cost me like $15 a month. So you can see $150 goes like quite far. So yeah, there's and AWS does something similar, and GCP, I'm sure they all have their own kind of promo thing. So I think you can get the hosting covered for quite a while. While it's front end, you can get free hosting on GitHub Pages as well. Netlify does lots of stuff. I've never used it, but I know it does lots of things on there as well. Great collaboration going on your pull request already, I see. Loving this. Okay, so we'll come back to this in a minute. That collaboration is still going on, but Carl has jumped in. So you got the closes in there. Yes. And then pre-builds, I love that. A bit of a disclaimer. And what pre-builds mean. Well, excuse me. So if I click on, if I run this app on Gitpod, it might take, I think, like maybe 30 seconds, a minute. But if you allow pre-builds on the organization or on the repo, I can't remember what level it's at. What did they write? Yeah, on the org, then what it will do is it will cache all of the NPM modules and other bits and pieces and so forth. Therefore, it just runs a lot faster next time round. Michael's smiling. I'm worrying. It usually means I've done something wrong. What have I done wrong, Michael? Tell me.
No, nothing wrong. I was sharing the Gitpodify blog on the issue, and Predumnia said that's a great blog. Didn't know about it. Thank you for sharing. And I was like, hey, I wrote a blog post a while ago about Gitpod and GitLab actually, which also has some insights into building your own workspace and extending things around Gitpod, which is not needed for this project, but it makes me smile because it's a blog post I wrote.
Nice. Yeah, blog posts and YouTube videos are very evergreen. I mean, I have videos from 2 years ago that I'm super embarrassed about, but still get people coming to say hi and, views and all the rest. So we're expecting videos and blog posts on your project, Laurel and Matthew, as well. So definitely.
All right.
2 hours, yes. We're going to have to, we'll go on till, I say till tomorrow. It's tomorrow already for me, but we're going for a while. So we'll have to draw a line somewhere. I know everyone's busy with their day and stuff.
I saw in chat someone asked if we're new to JS and new to developing. Or we're not new to developing, but we are actually. We're pretty. Me and Laurel at least are both new, and we're just kind of hitting the floor with the ground running, or hitting the ground to running there. I can't even say the
that saying is.
The saying is right now, but yeah. So that's how much we've been working on this stuff. Is our brains are just mush. But yeah, we're pretty new, and we're just working hard and doing what we can, trying to get our names out there and our faces out there and this project out there, and just it's been fun. And yeah, hopefully this journey y'all can keep watching if you follow us and stuff. Watch our dev journey and see from where we started to where we're going. You'll see on our Twitters there's some pretty crude looking stuff that we made early on, so you can see the progress from where we started and where we're at already in just a short amount of time.
Yeah. And I think too, it works as like an inspiration for people that are new to developing and new to coding. Like there's so much that you can do if you just write stuff with bad code just to get it out there and make it happen. And you can go back and refactor later and you can create amazing products that can actually help people, even if you are new. And I think that's like a really good thing to know, because a lot of people want to get down best practices and get down beautiful looking code before they're ready to expose it to the world and get other people to help out on it. But you don't have to get to that stage, I don't think, to do that. And sometimes it's better, like Eddie said, open source it sooner than later so that you can make a beautiful project quicker and create a product that can help people. So
yeah, with the help of the awesome community.
Yeah. It reminded me of what we kind of say at GitLab, low level of shame, which I kind of needed to for myself. It's not perfect yet, but I can show it to the world and we can collaborate on it. And yeah, I was just like scrolling over the project. I'm certainly not a front-end engineer. And we were talking about like dropping permissions afterwards, but like looking at it now and the ideas, I would love to stay as a maintainer if you want me to. And just keep an eye out and help reviewing pull requests and things like that. Just to make sure that, I can also follow along and maybe contribute a little bit
Love to.
and learn front end together, because I think I have no idea how to learn it. Too many courses, too little time. And practicing it and reviewing things, I think, is a great way.
Yeah, we'd love that.
I would
love to help, and any front end knowledge I can pass on to you, I will.
Same.
Like we said,
That would be awesome.
Me, that front end, as a heads up, like Matthew's further along than I am.
Yeah, maybe my CSS non-love relationship turns into a love relationship. I don't know.
Yeah, CSS. Yeah, I'm with you. I don't know. Love-hate relationship as well.
I'll teach you how to center a div, and then you'll be a master at it.
Oh.
Why does that always make me cringe? I always worry. I'm like, 15 years later, and when someone says center this, I'm like, oh no, I got that again.
Can you explain what is it, the exclamation mark important and the set index?
I can explain the
These
exclamation
are
mark
these are
important.
funny attributes which keep banging my head all the time.
I can explain it really quickly, like so quickly. Silver bullet. Exclamation mark important. Never use it. If you're using it, something's wrong with the project.
I heard the only reason to use it is you have 10 minutes to show somebody something and you need something to work, so you throw
Yeah.
bang important on it, and then you figure it out after the presentation's done.
Troubleshoot later.
But if you do that, I guarantee you it's going to stay there forever. That's the problem. And we've got Emma saying, love CSS. Okay, so any questions, we know who to ask.
Yeah.
And Tailwind,
I
it's
did a
pretty
code
epic.
search now. Nothing in there. You're good to go with open source.
Okay, no important. I'm just going to create this issue before we look at Gitpod. Automated testing with Cypress and Cucumber. Just to touch on this, the reason why it's like super beneficial to have automated testing, I'm suggesting Cypress and Cucumber. There are other tools. But as Matthew mentioned, they did a refactor. So if you're going to test everything manually, make sure it works. Whereas if you have automated testing, you can make changes and then you can run, and there may be 100 tests in 10, 15 seconds, and it will drive Cypress or similar tools. It will actually drive the browser, and it will take screenshots and videos if it fails. So you can see what's gone wrong, but it's driving it like a user, and it can run the happy paths, the sad paths. And by sad paths, I mean, if you're expecting an error, do you get an error, or you're expecting something like not to happen? Like, I don't know, you put it in disable mode and you shouldn't be able to click a button, then it can check that and so forth. So I'm just gonna raise this. I should put a description. I'll leave it open so I can add a description later. Let's look at Gitpod as well. If I remember correctly, HTTPS Gitpod, not GitHub, gitpod.com/hash. Is that correct? Carl did write it in the chat. Let me see.
Yeah, the thing is, I think there are changes needed for the project. This is what, is it Carl or is it Valentin?
Carl.
Carl was saying, okay, this might break the Netlify deployment.
Then that was something else. I think that was for the actual pull request rather than opening it in.
Yeah, I think you should be able to open it with, and this is me looking in the README in the pull request now. Let me copy paste.
While you're looking, I'm just going to say something that Carl shared. This reminds me of something that I heard once. I can't remember who said it, but they said, if you ship it and there are no bugs, you've shipped it too late. I thought it was quite interesting. Someone said that.
That's funny.
Thanks, Mikey. In the main branch. Did I mess it up? I think I'm okay.
Okay, you got it already.
Yeah. So
the thing is, you have to ship it at a certain point. And just to give you an idea, like GitLab is being released every month on the 22nd. Sorry, there were some dogs in the background. And like the 0 release, there might be bugs, but it might be fixed the day after with a patch release. So even if you like have a fixed plan on doing a release, do it. You can always ship a bug fix release later on. If there is like a huge breaking bug, it makes sense to delay the release. But then again, you should ask yourself, what are the quality assurance or the automated CI/CD checks? Why didn't they catch this? So you can automate many things, not only we touched base now on testing and things like that, but you can also test for code quality, for static application, security testing, security scanning overall for secrets which might be leaked, for dependencies, which is supply chain attacks nowadays, things which might happen and you didn't even know about it. So like the unknown unknowns which come around. And the more you can automate away, the better. And this can be also seen in the pull request integrated or as a comment there, just to be on the safe side. And I think we talked about this somewhere last week. We all try to collaborate and in good open source citizens, but sometimes a bot, a malicious actor might open a pull request And then you have the possibility that you add something insecure to your repository, and many other users have that installed, use it. So you also need some sort of review of security in your project, which is why it is great that there are so many tools out there which you can integrate. Long story short, I know security is boring, but we need to care about it.
Oh, it's super important. Definitely. Especially when you start getting database and back end. I think at this stage, when it's front end only, it's probably less of a concern. But yeah, it's good to start off with good foundations from the beginning.
And I think like deploying to Netlify or whatever hosting service you're using, if you're having real data inside, and this is especially a problem in the European Union with GDPR and data privacy, you need to take care about certain regulations and measurements that the data is not being leaked and things like that. And it's normally you shouldn't be talking about it, but it can happen that you as a private person get in front of the law and someone like sues you for not keeping your data safe. And you're like, yeah, it's just my open source project and it's hosted somewhere. So being aware of these things is important, but don't like make it your number one priority when contributing to open source, because it should be fun and shouldn't be much worrying about malicious or bad actors. We should be like collaborating together, and when someone sees something, flag it. Best flag it in private to maintainers, or depending on how the future goes, register domain, handle or host a mail server, or get a mailbox with security or abuse or something, so that people can reach out in private and tell you about certain things they might not be being able to open a private issue or something.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm not hoping that it catches you. It's just
me
talking
aware.
from experience.
It's good to be aware of things. So I've opened this in Gitpod. I didn't use the badge because it hasn't been merged in yet or anything like that. But in the PR, I prepended it, as Carl said, with https://gitpod.io/# and then just everything else on GitHub is exactly the same. So what it did was it gave me VS Code in the browser. It's run npm install, and it's running the project. And you can see the preview on the side here. I don't know if I press it, I can hear it. I don't know if anyone else can hear it as I click things, but probably not. It's probably just coming out of my headphones.
We're pretending to be hearing.
Okay, not the long. And then you can then yes, see it here.
The thing you can do if the pod is made public, which I think currently it is not, you can theoretically share the URL with everyone of the pod, and we can like click around. But I'm not sure. I think the privacy setting by default is only you. But this is a possibility if you want to collaborate and showcase the current state of development in a live environment. You can share the Gitpod, the Gitpod pod URL, something like that.
Makes sense. Yeah, we've collaborated another way. I can't remember how. I can't remember if we installed VS Code Live Share or something, but there's something built into Gitpod. I can't remember. There is a way to do it. So this is the PR. This PR adds parcel bundler. So yes, this is what Carl was saying was a bad PR. The reason why is 95 files changed, which is obviously a massive PR. But it says warning, this might break Netlify deployment. So I want to leave this. I'm not going to merge it. I'll leave it for you both to review, and then chat with Carl as well about it too. So I'm not going to merge this. And you can have a look through it. This is the Gitpod config, and most of it, if not all of it, is kind of from the template. I'm not going to go through every line, but the important ones are this one, and then this is for the pre-builds, which wouldn't affect now anyway. If you add it to the organization, then you get the benefits. So it puts badges in the pull request. So the pull request appears like at the bottom or the top, I can't remember, and you can just click it, and then you can just review that pull request. You don't have to stash your changes locally to then switch to a branch to test it. You can literally just click the button, have a play in the browser. If you're happy, then you can merge it. So yeah, okay, we've been going for almost 2.5 hours. I think this is probably a good place to stop. And any final thoughts or questions from any of you, I'd love to include it now. I know everyone's being super supportive. Shmita said going for 2 hours. That was like half an hour ago. So yeah, thank you. And thanks everyone for watching and listening. So what would you all, any of you like to add anything, any closing notes?
I'll just say that please be patient with us, as this is all so new to us. So like, we might not get to the issue or pull requests in like as quick as some other projects, as we were going to be going over everything very thoroughly, as it's all new to us, because we want to make sure that we are doing this correctly and pulling the right stuff, or merging the right stuff, and making sure that's good to go.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I think to just kind of, yeah, completely what Matthew said. And also, if anybody would like to help give us advice and guidance on how to run this project or how to run a project and different, I know we have Michael on board now, so that I love that. That makes me really a lot easier than you could probably imagine. But, yeah, anybody that would like to lend a guiding hand in the project management kind of aspect of the project as well, and best practices and how to go about it, and yeah, just give advice. We would love any advice or guidance that anybody has to offer, and any help on the project that you guys would want to help in any aspect is more than appreciated. And yeah, the more the merrier. But as Matthew said, we're really new to this, and this is really our first go at it. So yeah, we're going to be a little bit slow, probably slower than other people when we're figure it all out.
Yeah.
We're all always learning, so it's part of the fun. And sounds exciting, and looking forward to seeing how it all goes. Michael, what about yourself? Any closing thoughts?
I think it's for 2.5 hours, we kind of did touch base a lot of topics. I think one remaining task is to review what we planned for the stream in the discussion, and to open the remaining issues. This is something I started, but together we are faster. And from there, I would just say, let's focus on defining what's needed to kick it off, in the sense of adding a code of conduct, populating the README, copying some templates over. And then I have some ideas around registering a domain, doing certain things, doing a pages hosting, something where people can really discover it, hosting a demo and things like that. But this is really iteration. Just focus on things now. And I would encourage everyone who's listening now or maybe watching the recording, reach out for this project. There is no community yet, but I would just say let's use GitHub and make it a little umbrella, if that's okay. Otherwise, just ping us on social or Twitter, and create issues, create pull requests. And even if someone is not responding in a pull request, try reaching out. We might all be busy, and I promise you I will be busy up until KubeCon in May. So if something urgent comes up, kindly ping us to really make the reviews happen, or ping Eddie and he will make it happen.
Yeah, no, don't ping me. Chat to us publicly, and then someone else will probably beat me to it. But do tag me if you need my input or help. But usually, because of time zones and because of me getting so many notifications, I'm usually the last to reply. But I love it how let's just use the GitHub Discord. That we can chat in there. It's about open source and collaboration, so it's a great way for you to get more contributors talking in public. Emma made a really good point. Don't feel like you need to tackle all the issues yourself. I love this.
Makes me feel so much better.
I know.
Thank you, Emma.
when I say ping, I'm using this is the wrong term. This is something admin thinking. Tag me in public, because I don't respond to DMs often, and I really prefer transparency and collaboration in public.
Yeah, we're
Sounds
going to have a
good.
Discord eventually set up for this project, but we don't need to get into that yet.
Yeah, don't distract yourself straight away. I would, do it as and when you need, because you need bots. You need to protect yourself from spammers and
Oh, yeah.
maintainers, and focus on the organization first, and you can
Yes.
move over later. And Emma's also saying, she'd like to help out when the schedule calms down as well, which is
Perfect.
awesome.
Love that.
Yep.
We love that.
So
yeah, it'll be a lengthy process getting this thing. I feel like it'll be a work in progress forever, which will be fine, because new things, new features, all that stuff as they come out. If something comes up and we might think it's done, and they're like, well, wait, where's this cool feature we can add? And then now it's still not done. So definitely excited just to see where it goes, and thank you for all the help already that y'all have put into this project. I was not expecting so many issues and pull requests so far. It's great to see. It's great to see that people have interest in this project as well.
Yeah, it's already doing super well. I can't wait to wake up tomorrow morning or later on this morning and see all those numbers climb and see all the amazing collaboration that's been going on. So I can't wait. It's going to be super exciting. Thank you all so much for joining. I really appreciate it, and always keen to geek out. Everyone, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and follow my amazing guests below. And everyone have a great week. My guests, if you could stay on for a few more minutes, I want to end the stream, and I'll just thank you personally. I see the amazing support by everyone. Sorry, Michael, it's going over your face still.
Yay! Achievement unlocked. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great week. We'll chat soon.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.